Okay. Hi, my name is Cindy Morgan, and I am in Ethnic Studies 150. And for my Unit 4 project, end of the semester project, I decided to do prison strikes in the 21st century. It has become pretty big, prison strikes, so it's been interesting to look at why they're striking and what's happening and what they're demanding. So, prison living conditions, that's kind of the main reason why they are striking. The prisoners are striking because they have horrible living conditions. As you can see, 124 prisons around the world are at their capacity, and this means that there's more chance for riots and more chance for horrible health because you're just crowded and people, men and women, don't really get along if they're in a prison. So if it's overcrowded, there's more violence. Sanitary health is a big issue, especially with COVID-19. Like I said, with it being overcrowded, COVID gets spread easier, and I know they stopped um, visitation rates, but the guards coming in with COVID, if it did happen, everyone in the prison would potentially get it because once again they're living on top of each other. Solitary confinement is becoming more common. As you know, if you don't, solitary confinement is basically where a prisoner is put into a room, a four-wall cement block room, and just expected to sit there for 23 hours out of the day. And that's was originally meant for like really high class prisoners and criminals, but now they're using it as, oh, if you get in a fight you're going to solitary confinement. And no, that shouldn't be how it is. That should be if like they're a real danger. Like a fist fight every once in a while is not horrible, but like if they're like viciously attacking people in prison or out of prison, they should get this solitary confinement. It should not be our first resort. It should be the last resort. Rates of infectious disease, known as HIV, AIDS, and TB, are much higher in prisons than in the rest of the population in most countries. That comes down to the overcrowding. They're on top of each other. They can't really do anything. If you get the flu, then he gets the flu. Like, there's probably 5 people to one room that's the size of this room. So just think about it. If you were living with somebody like that, then you'd get sick easily. Quality of food is horrible, as you know, and that's bad nutrients. So they can't really eat well, and they will get sicker if they eat like horrible food, as you've seen like probably on TV shows, that they just get horrible food. It's not the best. Cramped into small bedrooms, like I just said, like this room would probably occupy like five guys. Lack of fresh air. They have a courtyard, but sometimes you're not allowed to use it depending on the day. And like I said, if you're in solitary confinement, you're not seeing any daylight for 23 hours out of the day. And it's just not healthy to not see any fresh air. You're just in a room wasting your life away. Horrible healthcare. If you get hurt in a prison, oops, like nothing is really gonna happen. Like especially for females when they're pregnant, they don't really get the best healthcare when they have their periods. Like they barely get any sanitary napkins or tampons or anything like that. So that's horrible healthcare because women can get very sick and it'd be very unsanitary for that. And then one more thing is working for cents a day. People relate it to modern day slavery. I wouldn't really agree with that. It's definitely horrible living conditions, but modern day slavery is a bit harsh word to use in my opinion. Here are some examples of what prisons look like. As you can tell, they're all crammed in together. Like, could you imagine if one person got sick? Everyone would get sick, like I said. And their bathrooms are so horrible. And the bottom right, you can see the men are all crammed in one space. The courtyards in the middle, at the bottom, I mean, it's a basketball court. Like, you can't really, and it's surrounded by the walls. They can't really run free. All they do is play basketball. Some places have weight rooms, but still, it's not the best. And then the dining conditions, that's just not a way to live. It's just horrible. In 2018, there was a 17 statewide prison strike. And that's basically prison strike, as we know, is they just stop. The prisoners stop doing everything. So like I said, 17 states in the United States went on a prison strike. Prisoners refused to work and eat to bring attention to their poor living conditions. It's just they wanted everyone to know what's happening, and they said, okay, if I stop working, then they have to do something about it. California prison workers get paid $1 to $2 an hour to fight the California wildfires. This was back in 2018, and if you remember, 4 years ago, there was very bad fires in California, and they were recruiting prisoners to go and risk their lives to kill this fire, and they were only getting paid $1 to $2 an hour. Like, that's just horrible. That there's no reason for that. They should be paying a good living wage, because they eventually will be getting out of prison, and they want to stand on their own 2 feet. Prison is meant to rehabilitate you and not watch you come back, because if you get paid 1 to 2 hours a day, an hour, and you leave prison, you're going to have no money, and then you're going to want to steal, you're going to want to do something illegal to get the money, and they're going to end up right back in prison. But if we pay them good salaries, then it wouldn't be a problem. And then these prison strikes took place for 1 week until a couple months. So basically, they were originally planned in 2016, but something happened, so they couldn't do it. So they planned it in 2018, and it was only supposed to last a week, but it lasted a couple months because the prison guards and the prison system wasn't really listening to some prisons. Like, some prisons lasted a few days, and some lasted up to 3 months. So it just depended on the prison. So the prisoners did have demands. They came together. National Prison Strike. They came together. It said these are national demands. Obviously, number one is immediate improvement of the conditions they're living in. They should not be treated like scum. They should be treated like people who want to get back into society and be an active member. An immediate end to prison slavery. So, like I said, I think it's a harsh word, but if they think that's what it is and that's what they feel, then I understand. But they want wages. Number 3, the Prison Litigation Reform Act must be reinsigned, allowing imprisoned humans a proper channel to address grievances and violations of their rights. Basically, just someone to talk to. Like, something happened to them, they need in prison. If something happened in prison, they should get grievances, and if their mom died or dad died when they were in prison, they should be allowed to grieve in their own way. For the Truth in Sentencing Act and Sentencing Reform Act must be reinsigned. The imprisoned humans have possibility of rehabilitation and parole. This goes back to what I was saying. Prison should be rehabilitation and not just, oh, you come in, you're staying here forever. No human shall be sentenced to death by incarceration or serve any sentence without the possibility of parole. That was their demand. I believe for the people that have small sentences, like if they're there for weed, if they're there for something that's pretty stupid, like why are they in jail? I believe they should have a possibility of parole, because people can change, but the people who murder people and are just not the best humans shouldn't have that chance of parole, because they shouldn't be in society. Like Class A crimes, they shouldn't do that. Number 5, an immediate end to racial overcharging, over-sentencing to parole denials of Black and brown humans. Black humans shall no longer be denied parole because the victim of the crime was white. Amen. Which is particular problem in southern states. Yes, there should be no act upon racism or color of skin in the prison system whatsoever. It's horrible that it's like that, but it doesn't matter at all. A person's a person. If they did a crime, it shouldn't matter what they look like. Number 6, an immediate end to racist gang enhancement laws targeting Black and brown humans. That's I would think that's like the KKK and then all those people that come to prison, that they shouldn't be there. They should be a different prison. No imprisoned humans shall be denied access to rehabilitation programs. at their place of detention because of their label as a violent offender. So, like I was previously saying, prison should be there for rehabilitation. 9 Pell Grants must be reinstated in all U.S. states and territories. And then 10, the voting rights of all confined citizens serving prison sentence and so-called ex-felons must be counted. Yeah, they're an American citizen, they should be able to vote. That's our right, and that's just because you're in prison does not mean it should be any different. So yeah, and then my conclusion, prison is an awful place to be in, and depending on the reason you're there, it shouldn't be an awful place to be living in. Like I said, prison is meant to be a rehabilitation center. I can't say that word, I'm so sorry. And it's not been treated as such. And I think it needs to change. And I think this prison strikes that are happening, US-wide, statewide, is perfect because they want their voices to be heard, and I understand that. And I just think that we need better living conditions, better food. You shouldn't be treating prisoners like dogs. You should be treating them like human beings they are. So yes, that is my Unit 4 end of semester project. I really enjoyed it, and thank you so much. Those are my sources. I don't know how to do this. Bye, everyone.